Hello students, your piano teacher Tim back from Piano Lessons on the Web. The first learning hack I'm going to give you is something you may not have ever considered. It's to get in micro practice sessions either in addition to the ones you're already getting or by themselves if you're really busy. The whole idea behind this is to get in an additional 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or maybe even 15-minute little practice sessions throughout the day. So the idea is that, when you wake up, maybe before you go to school or work, you'll fit in, 15 minutes there. When you get home, maybe right before dinner or right after dinner, get in another 15 minutes there before you take a shower. And then maybe another 15 minutes before you go to bed. And then, obviously, then that'll give you an extra 45 minutes a day to practice. But that's not the only benefit. Your brain can digest smaller amounts of information at a time. So like I always say, it's always better to get little bits of practice consistently throughout the week than get in big practice sessions, maybe only 1 or 2 days a week. Of course, if that's what your schedule permits, that's what you got to work with. But your brain, and I know my brain too, work better just, in little 10, 15-minute increments, maybe even up to an hour. Anything extended, now don't get me wrong, it's good to practice a long time every once in a while. But those little practice sessions, your brain will really grab a hold of and digest that material that you are practicing that much better. Okay, hack number 2 for you is to get to actually practice sight reading more often. The problem a lot of us have when we are reading music is we're learning a piece of music for months at a time, to really polish it up, maybe even get it concert ready if we're getting ready for that, or just to, make it really nice so you can practice or play for your family. Well, this is a good practice, or it's a good thing to do. You should do that. You should be working on some songs as part of your repertoire so you can play those for people and polish them up. There is a lot of skill to be gained through that. However, the drawback is if you never sight read, you're not really reading new music on a regular basis. So you're really reading the same music over and over again for months. And actually what's going to start to happen is your brain or your memory is going to do a lot of the work. You're not actively reading the music anymore. You're just really filling in the blanks between your memory and then just glancing up at the page every so often, and this will get you really stale at reading music. It'll be slower to learn new pieces that way. So you want to be sight reading regularly. Sight reading is, we've had quite a few lessons on it, is the practice of reading something new and fresh that you've never seen before. If you're interested in more about sight reading, I'll make sure to put a link somewhere on the video for you. Okay, hack number 3 involves practicing different genre of music. I think it's very common for us to practice one type of music over and over again, mainly, especially with piano, it's going to be classical, but we never really spend the time to even learn how to improvise, which uses different rhythms. It's a whole different thing, improv is. But even with sheet music, you want to be practicing different genre of music, whether it be classical, jazz, rock, pop. Pick something that you might not even really, you should pick things that you like to listen to, but every once in a while, give it a chance. Practice something that you might not be as interested in. You might find it fun to play. I've always found that, playing in different genres, like I said, there's different things going on, different rhythms, different types of notes, different hand positions, and so it's a different experience, and it will definitely broaden your horizons there, and it will get you reading and playing different note patterns, which will just, give you a more vast palette on what you'll be able to do on the piano. And it's also a great way to change things up, because I think one of the things that we all struggle with when we practice is it gets stale after a while. So that's tip number 3 is to practice different genre of music. Hack number 4 is use your theory knowledge to your advantage. Be looking out for chords, scales, patterns in your music rather than just looking at static notes, being like, okay, that's a G, that's a C, that's an E. Really be looking at what's going on in your music. For instance, the opening here to Moonlight Sonata, I can tell right away I have some octaves down below. Let me get the piano in here. It is a piano lesson after all. I can identify that interval right away, so that makes it easier to play. And then instead of looking at these notes individually, I know that it's a C sharp minor chord in second inversion. Well, how do I know that? Well, that's because I've been practicing my scales, my arpeggios, my chords. These things all have a purpose. It's not just to make your piano teacher make you crazy. There really is a purpose behind it, because once you get really good at not only playing them but identifying them, you can much better pick what's going on in your music, and you can actually learn to read music way faster and process notes. That's what it's all about. This, and along with sight reading, will really get you there. Okay, I won't play anymore. I think you get the idea. Hack number 5 is to work on your fingering technique, which is what fingers to use in what place and when. And another tip I have for you is that when you're playing through a piece, please write in your fingering, especially if it's a passage that you always miss up. You never want to run out of fingers when you're playing piano. So for instance, like if I'm playing, C major scale, there's a reason we use a certain finger technique to play up and down the keyboard more effectively, because if I just use any old thing, say I just use up my first 5 fingers here, I have to, it's just like almost impossible to finish the scale. I know some young students that flip their hand over like this, and your palms almost should never be facing straight up. There will be times where they'll be facing like a little bit to the side or whatever, but they should never be doing anything like this. As you can imagine, when your fingers are bent this way, mine flop around like a fish. They do not play very, very effectively. So work on your fingering technique, and please write them in for the difficult passages. And you use the same fingering the same way every time in a piece of music. You don't want one passage to use one fingering, and then another passage which has the same notes use a totally different. That doesn't make any sense. That's going to be confusing, and that's bad practice. So yep, work on your fingering technique is hack number 5. It's also going to make your music sound a lot smoother. So again, just playing the scale using the correct fingering, see how smooth that is. But if I use any fingering, I'm not even trying to make it that bad. It's just, but that's how bad it could be if your fingering is out of place. Okay, the next tip I have for you, I mentioned this a little bit before with the chords and stuff, is to use intervals to your advantage. Now, we had another lesson not a long time ago, like 2 years ago, called How to Read Music Faster Using this Special Technique. I'll try to remember to put a link around here for you somewhere. And the whole point of that lesson is that, when we read music, especially in the beginning, we're reading each individual note, and that takes a long time. It's great at first because you really have no other way to do it in the beginning. In fact, I recommend you do that first and then build on that with the chords and the intervals. Interval, by the way, just a quick review or introduction if you don't know. Interval is just the distance between 2 notes. So if you have a note in the next note, that's a second, 1, 2. Then you have a third, 1, 2, 3, fourth, fifth, 6th, 7th, and then octave. You should at least be able to identify by sight up to an octave. A ninth and further is great, but at least up to an octave, because that's what you're going to be finding in your sheet music so often. So like I mentioned before, when I was playing Moonlight Sonata, I knew right away that opening with the left hand is an octave. I also know that the distance between these 2 notes is a fourth, and then this is a third. And because I've played so many intervals before, it just gives you more information to go on when you are playing your pieces. Like I said, you can learn Moonlight Sonata looking at each individual note. However, it's going to take you 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 times longer than it would if you really understand what's happening throughout a piece. So do not ignore your music theory. Do not ignore your chords, your scales, and in this topic, in this case, your intervals. Make sure you brush up and practice those. It'll make your life way easier, I guarantee it. Okay, hack number 7 is to not only learn your scales, your chords, and all the other stuff I mentioned, but practice them on a regular basis. The better you can identify chords by sight and scales and everything else the same way, the better it will go when you're actually reading a piece of music. Because if you think about it, when you're reading music, right, you have to read it in real time. Sure, you can play it slower, for sure, but you really have to be able to, especially sight read effectively, you have to be able to process the information in real time. And to do that, not only do you have to learn these things, you have to have them mastered like the back of your hand, they always say, to where you barely even need to think about what's going on. It just flows really, really nicely. So yeah, I don't think I need to play through this again. I think you get the idea because it's building on one of the other hacks that we already talked about. But practice them on a regular basis. Seriously, like go through your scales. Even, I mastered my scales quite a few years ago, but every once in a while I still go through them. Oops. All again. And then I go through and practice my whole routine. The other great thing about it is it also combines into the other hack about fingering technique, because scales is really one of the simplest ways to develop your finger technique, because you learn simple hand crossings at different times between each hand. So scales is a great way to go. Okay, hack number 8 is start your practice session from the most difficult areas in the piece that you're working on. So for instance, once again, for consistency's sake, we're doing the Moonlight Sonata, right? So say I'm really good at this first page, second page is less good, third page is less good than that, and then, last page is even worse. And say I've been playing it for maybe 3 weeks now. Well, the number one thing you don't want to do is what? Start from the beginning, right? You've started from the beginning. The beginning's already good. It doesn't make sense to always start from the beginning if that's, if you need work on that second page. So probably what I would do actually is if say the last page is in the worst shape, I'd actually start on that last page, play through that, and you can even dial it down to individual measures. So say I'm good at the last page, but I really struggle with like this measure right here. I would actually star that in my music. Will it let me write on this? No, it will not. But anyway, I'd star it with a pen or something, print it out if you need to, or if you're on a tablet, you can write in, star those areas and start from them when you practice and go through each one, in each segment rather than playing the song from beginning to end, which, don't get me wrong, is going to sound great because, that's really why you're learning the piece. So eventually you can play it from beginning to end, have it sound great. However, you do that every time when you practice, your beginning's going to be great, your middle's going to be less great, the later middle's going to be kind of crappy, and then the end is really just going to fall apart on you, and it's going to sound unfinished and terrible. So start from those problem areas, whether it's even a page or an individual measure that you want to get down. And then combined with, hack number 1, getting in those micro practice sessions, you can actually, so say you only have 15 minutes or even 5 minutes, in the beginning of the day before you go to school or work, maybe since you only have very limited time to do, just practice those problem areas. And like I said, with the smaller practice sessions, your brain will absorb the information a bit better, and actually your brain will be working on it even throughout the day when you are not at the piano. By the way, I'm not like a brain doctor, but from what I understand, that's how it works, is that your brain is processing and doing things even after you are, physically looking at it. But you do have to spend the time on it for that to happen, for sure. But use these hacks in conjunction with each other to get even better results. Hack number 9 is to play slowly. I know you didn't see that coming, especially if you've been following me for a while. You want to be practicing on the slower side. Obviously, when you first learn a piece, you're going to play it at half speed or even less than that. But I find one of the most common problems and mistakes that students make that's really hurting them in both the short run and the long run is that they're trying to play too fast. This is specifically a problem in playing a song that you know really well, like G. Oh, wait, hold on. Like G, Moonlight Sonata, right? You may want to play it at full speed right off the bat, But chances are, unless you're me and you've played it a bunch of times, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to play it really, really slow. But let me take it a step further. So say you've learned Moonlight Sonata already. You can play it at full speed, and you're looking to polish it up, which is the next lesson we're going to do, by the way. You're looking to polish it up, getting it ready for performance standard. So what you want to do, and I'm serious about this, so you learn this piece well. You know, you might even have it memorized. Go through and go through the piece again and slow practice it, meaning play it at like half speed or less. You'd be surprised that this is really going to help you pick out more mistakes. Some mistake, like I've seriously worked on pieces for years before, and I've gone through and done the slow practice again, and I've picked out mistakes that I had been making for years on a piece. I remember I did that with my senior recital pieces, where I learned them, and then I went back a couple of years later to play for like an old folks home. And then, you know, I picked out more mistakes by doing that slow practice. So always go through and play. Please go slow. Please don't play fast. Fast is going to ruin you. Unless you're ready for that performance, then play fast and you're getting it up to speed. Okay, hack number like 9.5, because I actually forgot to put it in the list, but as I was talking, I just remembered it. Hack 9.5 is to memorize your piano pieces. Now, this is really going to help because, you know, when you're looking at notes on a page and all the things going on, you're really concentrating on the notes. But say you have the notes memorized, right? That's one thing that you're just not even going to have to think about. So what can... Sorry, there's like a fly or something buzzing around. But anyway, so what can you do if you have all the notes learned, all mastered, all memorized? What can you begin to focus on now that you might not have been able to before, at least not with your full brain power? Well, that's things like dynamics, right? Let's get this bad boy up here, this Moonlight Sonata. Dynamics. How about those phrasing, you know, those legato lines, getting those to really, really come out there. You know, and getting it to sound like a real piece of music rather than just static notes there. So memorize the notes and work on the smaller details. All right, now we're going to get on to hack number 10. Okay, hack number 10, you're not going to believe it. You're going to be like, Tim, what are you talking about? How does this have to do with anything? Some of you, it'll make sense. But hack number 10, get a good night's sleep and get it consistently. If you're low on sleep, you're not going to be able to concentrate as well. This is science, by the way. You're not going to be able to concentrate as well. You're going to have problems learning. Your memory is not going to be as good. These are just facts. So if you can, get in more sleep time, you know, particularly before a performance is a good idea. I always tell students that when they're ready for a performance, what you want to do the day before is you don't want to practice 1,000,000 hours a day. I mean, you do want to practice some, and you want to practice a little bit the day of. But the time for practicing a lot was actually way before that, months before. So what you want to do the night before a performance is what? Sleep well, you know. In addition to these hacks, there are several problems that piano students commonly come across that really hurts their progress, and I really want you to learn about it because it can really help you make a lot of progress by avoiding them. So check out that playlist right there. Make sure to subscribe because we have more lessons coming out all the time. So thanks for coming back to our classroom. It's been your teacher Tim here from Piano Lessons on the Web, where we power up our piano skills, share them with the world. There, I remembered it this time. So anyway, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.